Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the PCS Summer Split. We're rounding out week number 3, and man, we have had some absolute crazy games, some back and forth, some heartbreaks, and some big victories for teams that desperately needed it, and we were hoping to have a little bit more here. But before we get underway, I would like to extend a very big thank you to our wonderful guest partners, and of course, our sponsor, CTBC Bank, always by our side, and for yet another split. Now, I'm Pyrotechnics. I'm joined by Clement Shu. Clement, we're rounding things out. We got a few more games to play here in this final round of week number 3. What have been the big things that have stood out to you so far?
Oh boy, well, we cannot skip over the fact that the buck stops at 25. Sem9 just got their first win yesterday. It took them 26 tries, but they finally bested Jewish team to clinch their first win in the PCS. Not just this split, but the entirety of the PCS. So I hope we're going to see a V5 story where they traverse the depths of hell and then they can rise towards the skies.
I think it's very possible, as is anything. This is one of the most competitive splits we've seen in the PCS in some time. It's been very exciting to see teams stepping up. And even though, like on the last time, the two of us were on this stage together, we were seeing teams get so close and just fall at the finish line, including Sem9. But they finally got that all-important victory versus Jewish. That was yesterday's games, of course, but we have some really, really exciting ones on the docket. We're going to get the standings up in a minute, talk about where the teams are, see how they have been in this split, because honestly, we usually start to, I think, see the standings take shape early on, see where the power division is early on in the split after the first couple weeks, after about this time. Yeah. But honestly, Clement, I don't know where to put a number of our teams. We've got like all sorts of crazy stuff. We've got the J Team cinematic universe. You've got teams beating each other in a circle. It's not a circle of suck, it's a circle of good, because they're all up at the top of the standings. You got Megabank Beyond Gaming pulling off some crazy upsets, and I know absolutely making you lose your mind over some of their drafts, but they're still pulling out wins until they aren't. Every team seems to have a story.
I have to say that this split does feel like a slower going split. We had a number of major roster changes from our MSI representatives, the PSG squad, and a lot of other squads to follow around as well. So even though this is about to be the end of the first round robin, I still feel like a lot of teams are still taking shape. We're going to be taking a look at yesterday's results. Of course, the biggest storyline here, Sem9 finally getting their win after 26 tries. Congratulations. I hope that's a huge morale booster. Elsewhere in the standings, I felt like the last 3 games yesterday were all incredibly competitive. Deep Cross coming over Megabank Beyond Gaming, a CFO over Taipei J Team, and we are seeing the tempo teams actually sort of win out in a lot of these situations, and the draft kind of evolved and helped as well.
Yeah, and Frankie Sports beating MFT at the end, they're obviously the favorites, but I think that is a team that has really brought a lot together. And you talk about tempo, they certainly have been able to play it. I'm excited to see what teams can do, because some of these squads, especially at the top of the table, they've really liked to lock themselves into the scaling game, confident that they can coast to victory. I think some of our other squads are going to give it to them, but so far, that's how things have shaken out. When DCG, CFO both on top, J-Team taking a rare loss on that one. But as you mentioned, yeah, Sem9, this is huge. Let it be known, nobody beats this team 26 times in a row. They finally get their first win in the PCS as an organization. And let's take a look at where that lends our standings. Up at the top of the table alone right now is PSG Talon, with only a single loss, and that to Megabank Beyond Gaming. Following, we do have a couple of our J teams. It is Deep Cross Gaming and the namesake themselves, followed closely by CFO, Frankie Sports, and Megabank Beyond Gaming. That's where the divide happens. You got your 5 positive win rate teams, and then Impunity at 3 and 5, still working out a few bugs, making a lot of changes in the roster, and then Meta Falcon team at 2 and 6. But I think it could have been very, very close there with some of their games. And Sem9 finally getting a win over the winless Jewish team.
And I think if you look at the standings, the teams that have had the most solid identities are your top teams. PSG Talon still going for that big team fight style. They love their Aphelios. They're going to take their Zeries when it's open. And Deep Cross Gaming, I think this is a team that's very much in the mid game. You see a lot of these Seraphines, the Swains coming out in the mid, a lot of just brawler compositions coming out. So I feel like knowing your strengths in this meta definitely pays off quite big. It's not about necessarily playing completely in lockstep with the meta, but definitely about putting your own spin on it and knowing where your strengths are.
Absolutely. And I think it's taken some of our teams a little bit of time to dial in, but a week or two, that ain't too bad. Now that we've seen them really flex into what they want, I'm especially happy to see Deep Cross with 6 wins after their opening week of 2 losses, because this is a team that I thought would really take to this type of meta where you don't have to win mid lane. You want to roam, you want to be a bruiser. That it seems exactly up Nesty's alley, and it has been. They've also had Leaky try his hand at a number of tanks. In addition to the big carries, he's found mixed success there. And Criscata and Woody are just too damn good as a duo. It's very exciting to see the bot lanes, especially because also CFO have got Shun back in the lineup, and he has been tearing it up, absolutely pub stomping against a number of our storied players.
That was a huge thing that happened yesterday. Shun absolutely dominating the lane against J-Team's bottom lane. We're going to be taking a look at today's matches, and my eyes immediately draw to the last 2 matches of the day. J-Team versus Beyond Gaming. That's one of those matches where Mega Bank have somehow just found the edge at certain points. And then 7-9 versus CFO. If a miracle is going to start, it's going to start when they take down the finalist in the Flying Oysters.
Oh, that's a statement. But hey, maybe, they can become Sem 9-7. Or, hopefully continue to keep it going, maybe 9-9 by the end of the split. You never know. It's always possible. The sky's the limit. They've broken the barrier, Clement. They gotta win. But that is a tough mountain to climb. Elsewhere, though, I'm also looking at Impunity versus Meta Falcon team. Those are 2 teams that have had a lot of struggles, and I think we talked about how this could be a good test case to find some answers, as well as PSG Talent and Frank Esports, a surging Frank Esports pretender versus the team he's loaned from.
Ooh, this one's super spicy, but I think mainly because of the top lane. You have the big old faithful and Hanabi giving you your blind pick Nars and your blind pick Auras. But we saw what YSCam could do to those blind picks yesterday when he took the Camille, absolutely destroyed Taco. And I know this is a bit of a stretch, but we have to remember Taco also destroyed PSG's Soul Lane 1v2. So, just going by that logic.
Transitive property.
Exactly.
Let's see. Carry the 2. Yeah, no, definitely. YSCam has just shown up to be such an exciting and incredible player. And I think shout out to Youngblood on Twitter was talking about, he stands for Yordle Solo Killing Machine. Don't play Gnar into this guy, Hanabi. We're warning you. We're warning you. I really think that there's a possibility for Frank Esports to take that, and that's a big one. It's no longer the days of PSG just completely dominating everyone without being challenged, because they have been a number of times. Obviously, Beyond Gaming beat them early on in the split, but there is a chance, and I'm excited to see if it happens today. Frank have been growing in leaps and bounds.
For sure. PSG have been pushed a lot of times this split. Not only their loss, I think yesterday's games actually came down quite close as well, and the first day of the week 3, where we watched them nearly get overtaken by a team like
Falcon
MFT.
Team.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we've had some serious close calls there. It was so crazy to see the finish just come down again, sometimes to one of these fights. But that's all the games we've got going on later today. Let's talk about the first game, because up right now on the blue side, we have Deep Cross Gaming, who are in a 6-game winning streak, and they are Leaky, Hana, Nesty, Criscata, and Woody. No changes to the roster, not anything necessary. This is a team that has found their strategy and hit their stride.
Their strategy seems to be wearing some interesting face masks right there. I think
ST doesn't need to see to win.
I feel like he's having some meditation time. But yeah, let's.
I mean, to be fair, he doesn't need to win lane ever, so
that's kind of true. I'm not saying he can, but it certainly isn't necessary for Deep Cross Gaming strategy. We'll go over kind of what we've seen. I think the biggest improvement is just their front line. We have seen Leaky just trend more towards the tank top laners. And also, Hana has been playing a lot of more teamfight-centric junglers. The Poppy is one that he's definitely fallen in love with. Nesty is kind of going for the same role. He's still roaming a lot. You see the Gallios, the Talias come out. And then Woody has been, I think, the biggest benefactor to the additional front lines in Hana and Leaky. He gets to pick his moments a lot better, and he even won the Week 2 MVP.
Yeah, this was including some performances on an Ashe support, a Rel support. I think Woody has shown up to be a pretty rounded player. Now, their opponents, also very consistent, unfortunately consistent in losing, as they are currently sitting at 0-8 at the bottom of the table. They are Lakunai, WSL, Xiaotu, Bangtu, and Enhao. Duish team are in the hunt, but this will be a very tough opponent. And it seems like it's more of the same, Clement. This is a squad that has struggled to find wins to find a winning lane even. And it seems like they really need to look to their mid-jungle duo. They just haven't really been able to find much of it. WSL is not on the same page with the rest of his team, as we saw yesterday up in that top lane.
Oh boy, that was the weirdest sequence I have ever witnessed as a jungler. So for those of you that missed that, we saw a 2v1 where WSL never showed up. Lacune baited way too hard, lost most of his HP, lost some level because of the EXP share, and then lost his flash. And that was so weird. That's one of the situations where I saw a gank actually win the lane for the opponent. So it just feels like the coordination is not there between WSL and his lanes. I frankly have been loving Duish team drafts. I feel like their drafts have, yesterday's draft, they hard outdrafted Sem9. They should have won that game. But it's just these super awkward jungle mishaps that has constantly just been imploding their early game.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, is we just haven't been able to see them execute, and in the early game they fall apart. We will be taking a look at our support players in this one, because Woody was the MVP in week number 2, and how he has been struggling. Although I have to say, I think of all the players on the roster for Duish team, he's definitely been a little bit better in some cases. Like bot lane still struggles against most of their opposition, but I don't think they get pushed in quite as hard. We were talking about top losing. We were talking about Zhao2 not being able to step up. I think this bottom lane is probably the brightest spot, and that goes back to last split even.
Oh, that's I feel like that's a little bit hard.
It's a technicality. Yeah, I know.
You can say it's probably the least worst position, but I would really struggle to call it a bright spot. It's definitely not winning. So I just want everyone to be clear on that one. I think Enhao's role is mainly just to keep Bang2 alive in lane. So he's been playing a lot of the Braum pick. It's just something that's very difficult to dive. You have that damage reduction, and you also have that hard rock control. So that has kind of been a default for him. I actually like the skirmishing comps with the Braum, because with the Ezreal, you can get those concussive blows on people so easily from such a long distance. It's kind of been a mainstay of their strategy. Just Braum level 1, Braum bot lane skirmish. And to be fair, they do run this quite often. It's just not been successful all the way. We have seen glimpses of it work, but not enough to give them an actual winning side on that.
Yeah, and that's the issue. I think if you look back to last split too, we were seeing some more exciting picks out of Bang2. I know he tried for the Twitch counter to Zeri. That one didn't work out, but it did start to become a thing. And the Twitch Yumi is still, of course, a possibility on the map. Bang2, I think, will always have an opportunity to maybe make some plays. The problem is he's playing up against Kriskata, who was our rookie sensation last split, and honestly probably would have been the hottest new prospect in the league, with the exception of Shun, who came in and took everybody by storm. But we're into picks and bans. Deep Cross Gaming on the blue side. They're starting out with the mid lane, banning away the Sylas and the Azir. Following Duish team, they hit the bot side with Lucian and Zeri.
So what we've seen in 12.12 is with the nerfs to Wukong and the Viego, a lot of the draft has been revolving around these AD carries. You can kind of shape the way both teams are going to play by either banning away the super early game tempo champions like the Lucian and the Kalista, or you can try to ban away things that are hyper late game like the Zeri and the Aphelios. So it does seem like Duish team, because they rely so much on champions like Ezreal, which are pretty much outside the meta, they're pretty happy just taking away the power.
Makes a lot of sense. Deep Cross, they continue to throw bans, just pile them on at Zhao2. There goes the Corki. And now Kalista being banned out by Duish team as they try to get Kriskata on the back foot. But he has been very happy to take whatever, including the Seraphine. This will be his second game on the champion. Although, it could always be an SD pick.
Yeah, it could definitely be a flex. And this is something that DCG has loved to do on the blue side. They're a team that has started to use the Seraphine very early on. And we have seen the new hotness on the block, which is the Seraphine Amumu lane. And you get the Curse of the Sad Mummy onto someone, and suddenly Seraphine starts to be a real damage threat that can just burst you from zero.
It's pretty ridiculous. I love to see Amumu rising up in the pick priority. We even saw him on patch 12.11. Teams were starting to play him here. But then he gets the buff up, the mana reduction on the bandage toss, starts just chucking him out like crazy. And Enhao has been one of those players playing it, but he will be opting instead into the Nautilus. And Lakunai blind picks the Gnar very early on.
Yeah, Amumu, Oh, it's the buff is absolutely massive. You save 40 mana per bandage toss. That adds
What a
up pretty
discount.
quickly. Yeah, a massive discount. Most champions like start with something like 300 mana to begin with. So saving 80 mana on like a skill rotation is absolutely bonkers. Jewish team. This is sort of interesting. I think Jewish team, in my personal opinion, their best strategies have been going for poke compositions and going for mid-jungle tempo comps. So it does seem like this is back to their old strategies. They banned a lot of these AD carries, but they're willing to keep on letting them go. I wonder if they're going to let the Senna go. It feels really bad to let the Senna go, so it seems like they're just going to have to continue banning the ADs going in.
Yeah, it could be trouble for him, and still sticking to some of the comfort levels. WSL has liked himself the Lee Sin, especially with the Wukong falling down a little bit in the priority. I did think WSL has tried a few different things, including this. The Trundle does come out. I do like that into something like the Tahm Kench.
Exactly. Very difficult for the Tahm Kench to actually escape here. So if we look at the draft here, I really love this Tahm Kench pick because, you know, you can run a Seraphine Tahm Kench lane. It's not the best, but you could definitely go with it. And there's still Jinx and also the Senna open. So you're basically going to force Jewish team to ban away everything or just leave some really top priority AD carry picks for yourself. So I think DCG has hit a great spot right here. I am kind of curious what they want to ban away from Xiaotu because we really haven't seen all that much from Xiaotu. It's been Zoe, Jace, and pretty much Silas. So Xiaotu looks like he's incredibly pinched right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's 4 bans that Team Cross have thrown his way, and they might even do a 5th. Senna does get taken off the table, but I think you're right. Chris Gotta can just be like, all right, just give me Jinx. I'm just going to style on some kids. It's nice to have a mid laner like Nesty that just utterly throws pick ban strategies out the window. Talia is the final ban for Deep Cross, which, I mean, that is technically a mid lane ban, right? I mean, we could see it in the jungle as well, but probably not from the likes of the WSL, especially with the Trundle lock in. And Xiaotu has gone to the Zoe when all else fails.
Very much an expected pick right here. I mean, the DCG has pretty much taken away 6 mid lane champions in the draft so far. You can count Seraphine as a takeaway.
Nani? All right. Gonna try to go hunting.
Very interesting, but not really my cup of tea. I feel like DCG are running with so much healing and also anti-burst just with the Devourer in the Tahm Kench that it's going to be hard for LeBlanc to work. We really haven't seen burst champions work at all after the durability patch.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. Well, it's always possible, I guess, if it is going to be a Seraphine mid. And wow, a Wukong lock-in. That might be going top lane.
Ooh. Yeah, it definitely could be. This is a lot of interesting takeaways. You know, Wukong is one of those old counter picks to the Gnar. You can definitely close the distance. And I don't think the nerfs actually put Wukong in the top lane much at all. You know, mainly it was the nerfs towards the damage against monsters on his Nimbus Strike. So in terms of top lane prowess, Wukong really hasn't been touched. Back a very interesting surprise pickup right here.
Yeah, we gotta talk about this last pick. Samira, bot lane. We've seen it before, not this split. That's new.
I think Samira is in a pretty good spot, but overall she's just incredibly reliant on Snowball to make work. She's short range and she works on resets, so I'm not really sure how well this comp from Jewish team is going to operate. I feel like they need quite a massive snowball in their bottom side skirmishes for this composition to actually work. So what I expect the game plan to be is you're going to see a lot of early game targeted ganks against the Seraphine. She's pretty much the weakest spot here on the map. Maybe you could gank the Tahm Kench a little bit. There is a lot of hard crowd control in with the Nautilus, but I would say if they don't get 2 ganks early in the bottom side of the map, I don't see this team working out for Jewish team. It's too reliant on the snowball.
Yeah, they really kind of put all their eggs in the basket there at the end between the LeBlanc, the Samira, and I mean, I guess it is curious, right? Because one of the struggles has been falling apart in the early game. They've not really been able to make the plays happen, and trying to make things happen quickly. So I guess in that case, if they lose, at least they'll lose fast. And going up against the side of DCG, who have been able to stack 6 wins together without losses at all, that's going to be a tough ask. We'll see if Duish can end their drought, but it will be difficult against one of our better squads here in the PCS. Deep Cross Gaming bringing out the Seraphine mid for Nesty. Nice flex pick for this squad. Kriskata on the Aphelios. Pretty comfortable position there. And surprise, surprise, Leaky taking the Wukong up top.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a treat to see the Wukong. Do expect sort of the Triforce builds to come out. Actually, he could go for the Divine Thunders in this matchup as well. Would work fine. And to round out DCG's side of the composition, I think this is pretty standard for what they like to run. It's a ton of engage coming in from both Nesty and their top laner Leaky, and you have that scaling potential in the bot lane. So very comfortable comp coming in from them. They love to start their drafts off with the Seraphine flex pick. You got all of that down. I will say that in the early phases, the mid jungle is a lot weaker than their opponent. You should expect Duish team to be able to move around the map a little bit earlier. But as we said, scaling is definitely not on Duish team's side. They need to snowball with this composition. So I would say everything is on Xiaotu and WSL, what they can get accomplished once they can.
Start the timers. We'll see if they can get it done. An interesting thing I do want to talk about a little bit is because the Samira is definitely a big reset champion, but how does this interact with the Aphelios guns? I know she can destroy missiles, but that's something I hadn't really thought about.
I think it should allow you to... I'm not exactly sure about how the Gravitum works with it. Like, will the Gravitum stun through the W? But I imagine it would be very difficult to stop. And, you know, as an Aphelios, you can probably wait out a lot of the timers on that one. So it's going to have to be a reactive stop. I think it should work.
Yeah, I'll have to find out. Meanwhile, speaking of hard to stop, Lakunai actually already started getting damaged pretty heavily. It's a pretty defensive start on both sides, actually, as he turns some damage back towards Leaky. Doran shields across the board.
Leaky still with a sustained advantage right here. Finally pops the potion. And that's a lot of damage done. You can see that both junglers are heading into the top side. And WSL has been spotted out here, so... It looks like Hana is just going to go for a straight-up gank, while on the other end, Duish team's jungler is not going to be there.
Oh, Lakunai is very low. This might be a flash burned at the least, and did not see that one coming into the stun. Gets the hop flash forward. Hana can't quite finish him off. Nicely done to get the extra flash. Feels good.
Yeah, really nicely done on the slow. I believe that was the boomerang. So what he did there was he jumped and flashed over Hana, and then the boomerang still clipped him for the slow. So even with the stun and everything landing, Hana couldn't get the final auto attack off, even with the flash. That was actually very well played by Lakune.
Yeah, really nice to see. I think we were hoping to see a little bit more out of this player. So far, that's helped. Yeah, you got the flash burned, and we were expecting that, but the fact that they still got Hana's, as this Viego, when you don't have that Spectral Maw, you can't really do that much at range early on in this game, and now Turnabout's fair play. WSL coming into the lane, but Leaky playing safe in this one. And we'll see if he gets punished. He goes in, gets a little bit of free poke, but Lakunai kind of keeping him under fire.
Yeah, and they still haven't had this warded, so if Trundle runs into the Viego right now, Trundle should be very comfortable in taking this 1v1. But he is going with the scanner, so oh no, they just pass each other, and Lakune is
boy. Lakune's almost got a Narbar, though. I think he might be feeling himself. I don't know if he should, because that Nar, there we go, comes up with the smash, and that's going to be the end of it. So WSL not even required as the game stays fairly quiet, not for lack of trying. Nesty takes a bit of damage from Xiaotu. This is very important. Xiaotu needs to get ahead in this lane, and Nesty not typically known for winning mid lane in most engages.
You have to remember, Xiaotu actually had some very memorable LeBlanc performances in the prior splits where he was a mid laner. We haven't been seeing much of LeBlanc here, but it definitely could happen. We could just use the Nimbus right. He goes in again.
WSL is really waiting, buying his time. They're hoping to get the kill, not just the flash. And here he goes, flashes forward the Chomp. They're not fooled, forces his own flash. The pillar's up. Do they have the damage? They're just chomping him down, and they do. First blood, Duish team.
Really nicely done. The flash in to get the 99% slow. It's a very, very short duration slow, but it definitely does help you there. WSL, not getting fooled by the Cyclone, walks him down. And I feel like he's just righting the wrongs that happened yesterday with all the shenanigans happening
Redeeming himself.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is his atonement game. The arc is coming through, Clement.
He's like, Lacuna, I'm sorry I messed up your lane so hard yesterday. Please take my offerings here.
I just imagine him just turning up the top lane with like a boombox, standing out there, being like, please forgive me. I'll gank your lane. Worked out this time. Got the kill and everything. So, a good start for Newish team. They need it, but they got it.
Yeah, and now that we have that lead coming in from the jungler, WSL coming back with a Sheen lead over Hana, I want to see him start to free up Xiaotu. We've seen Xiaotu in his own lane. He's going for the wave clear build right here. Does have the boots of Ionia, and does help him move across the map this early with the boots too. So that should really be the point of focus. It's certainly possible that Xiaotu could just get the job done himself, but with WSL's lead here as well, I really think their bot lane is completely unstoppable at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right. This is a good start. Also, yeah, the boots pick up early does mean the roaming can happen. Newish team do have priority. It's in full vision of the control ward on the dragon, but can't really be stopped. And again, they need to do it. They're starting it. Hana is going to take the incentive to do a bit of counter jungling as he has been getting better farm, but WSL has that kill to work with too. So dragon stacking started, 1 kill up. Bot lane hasn't really struggled, but Newish team are ticking the boxes.
Oh boy, this is the best look Newish team has ever seen for their early game. There's no bot lane mishaps. They managed to pass the blue buff correctly. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but they've also failed that a couple times this split already. And, the jungler is actually normal. He's behind, but he's actually, pathing quite normally and ganking normally. So DCG on average has been behind by 5,000 gold at 15. I feel like if they can change that trend, we finally get to see what a Newish team mid-game could look like.
Yeah, we're starting to have some vertical jungling as well. WSL moving in for the red buff on the deep cross side. I agree. I think if we can get this team to a healthy mid-game, starting to feel pretty good. It's a slim gold lead at the moment, though, just off the back of First Blood. And all eyes are going to be on Xiaotu. If he can get a roam out, get the kills, if he can get a solo onto Nesty, who is playing it safely, sitting on Ghost Flash as well with the Unsealed Spellbook.
There's a lot of opportunities to abuse this. I think if you look at the map here, Xiaotu is still super dominant in his own lane. You got the tier build coming in from Nesty, so that one's going to be a very slow burner. I really just want to see them force the bottom lane a little bit more. Once you push Nesty in, you kind of dash towards the bottom lane. Everyone on DCG has to gravitate towards the bottom lane, and then you're just free to take Herald. I feel like that is a very standard play that Newish team could look for, or they could just simply transition and start up the topside play here, but they have to be aware DCG is actually here first.
Yeah, Xiaotu does actually get stunned as he tries to push his luck a bit. Spectral Mott point blank catches him, but he gets out. Newish team a little bit slow. They do find Deep Cross there, who muscle their way in to start off on this Rift Herald, and actually just seem control of it. This is a little bit odd. Maybe they're going to try and turn now. Narbar's not quite up for Lacunai, but he's dancing, ducking, dipping, diving, and dodging around, and got a good old 5v5 at the Herald. Done up. There's the engage. Once again, they actually find a little bit of damage from the backside, but Nesty is safe. Bang 2 opens up with a kill into Hana, and it's WSL. The rest of the team steal the Herald. Lacunai with a massive Gnar. Double kill from Bang 2. They're doing it.
Oh man, Newish team, they found the first Herald. This is so incredible. I just want to say, before this, they have never been able to take first Herald, and now they're taking first Blood, first Herald, and first Drake at the same time.
All split?
Yeah, that's the first Herald, all split long. So massive.
It was a good setup for the fight. Not to mention, they get 2 kills for Bang 2 off the back of that. Another kill for WSL. Yes, they lose 1 to Nesty, but that's not necessarily the power pick, right? Let's take a look at that fight again, because it's really up in the air, but Deep Cross, they just get caught with their pants down.
Yeah, I feel like Hana just gets caught with no easy way of retreat. That was a great killer, section off the enemy team there. They managed to take off the jungler and the front line right at the start, and then the back line's just completely open for Lacune to go in. He gets the 3-man slam, so just beautiful stuff by WSL. I felt like that pillar was really the defining moment right there because it forced Hana to use the ultimate very early on in the fight. You know, there's no reset potential coming in from him. Huge loss of power. And then Leaky also gets caught on the other side trying to save his jungle. And then you see the backline of DCG just unable to really contribute in the fight.
I don't know where this Jewish team has been hiding, but clearly they've come to play today, Clement. This is better coordination than I think we've ever seen from this team, and that includes their different iterations, different ownership, different names. This is starting to look like a much better squad here in the PCS. It's very early, 10 minutes on the clock, but a healthy 1.8k gold lead, kills on your carries. Maybe not on Jiaotu, but it doesn't matter. He's still setting the plays up, and this team is doing well.
Yeah, they're absolutely massive at this point, and you know they could run the play I was mentioning all this time around. You just drop the Herald, go bottom. There's tremendous pressure that's going to happen there. And you also have the Drake coming up in 30 seconds, so I think that's going to be the next play. They just want to fork mid. Xiaotu has already have wave priority, and it should be a fairly easy dragon take. I don't even see DCG really trying to contest this one.
They might try to force it up, though. They do bring the 3-man squad into the lane, and that actually means Jewish team are going to back off because they tried to sandwich on. We're afraid of getting flanked themselves. WSL walks up. They see the ward clears going through, and he's a big trundle right now. Does have a pretty early complete on the Divine Sunder. It's got to feel good when you take that champion. You have a big impact early. That does open up the dragon take for Jewish.
Yeah, and they can't even respond to this one properly. They have to back out. You can see Xiaotu just trying to get some extra gold here in the mid lane while they're doing it, forcing out Hana, so...
Careful. All right, they do get the Herald charge. Meanwhile, Lacune, he's going down. Leaky gets the 1v1. Don't know how that one started, but a little bit of a scuffed series of events there does mean the Deep Cross get a bit of gold back for themselves.
Yeah, it was a massive outtrade there. I'm really curious at what happened because Lacune was actually running towards the wrong side of the map. He was going through the enemy tower at that point, so I feel like he must have pushed his lane and then just got brush ganked by Luki, who just comes out with the Cyclone, does a bunch of damage. There should be no real way that he gets outtraded this hard earlier on. We'll see how this happens. Oh, he gets caught just as he's about to turn mini. Wow! That timing from Leaky was so on point.
That was actually insane. What a play. And Leaky making up for earlier for sure. That is going to be the second kill for Deep Cross this game. Now we're starting to see some of the item buys come through. Gale Force picked up for Kriskata, who's had a very quiet game in lane. You talked about how Enhouse's job is to just keep Bang 2 alive. I think mission successful for the most part.
Yep. Definitely has been. You can see the Eclipse going through for Bang 2 here. And yeah, I'm just so surprised about that top side. The top side was just absolutely amazing.
Ooh, the max range hook! Nesty's gonna go golden, but I think they've caught him right here. Pillar to the side, he gets pinballed around, and Xiaotu is on the board.
Oh, the snowball is about to begin. We talked about Jewish team, you know, usually down 5,000 gold and needing 2 ganks early on. I think they far exceeded my expectations, and now all the pressure is on DCG. If you look at the 80 carry builds right here, it's the triple crit item build versus the lethality build coming out from Bang 2. So this is... it's going to take a long time for DCG to actually be useful here. And by that time, I feel like Hana is going to be a non-factor. He's been put so far behind at this point that you don't really see the Viego become a damage threat. He's almost relegated to a reset bot. He needs someone else to somehow find that first kill for him.
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit tough. And I think Deep Cross, you know, they know they have the scaling on their side, but I don't think they were expecting this all-out offensive. Is it too bold to say this is the best Jewish team look we've seen thus far?
Oh, absolutely. There is no doubt in my mind that this Jewish team performance so far is the best we've seen all split and all for their organization. So far, they're still 0-8, as you can see on the top right corner. And I don't think I've seen an early game from them that hasn't been absolutely disastrous. So, massive improvements. I also want to correct myself a little bit here as... please don't die. Okay, they're very good. The bot lane build, I think it should still be the Executioner instead of the Eclipse. Sorry, I just got kind of missed the new quiver range.
Oh boy, WSL He does find Leaky, but they can't quite close him on the Cyclone, and they're going to go in for round 2 right now. He gets that second one. Here we go. The chain's on. I think they're going to be able to get something out of Leaky. Get a little baited out. Doesn't matter. WSL takes a bite out of him, and here comes the rest of Deep Cross Gaming for the second win effort. 3v3 up towards the top side. Meanwhile, they get the turret down mid. Anyways, the Samira just managing to fire away at towers. Deep Cross don't get anything for their trouble.
Nobody expects the second gank coming out here. DWT, they are in position a little bit earlier. They moved everyone there. And they should be able to take this Herald down without much resistance here.
They're trying, though. That's a really good encore, but here comes Big Gnar. They don't really find the ult that they were looking for, but still, they dissuade the pressure. WSL zoned out of the fight, but Jiaotu's already taken down Woody. Criscata, he's losing his front line. The Inferno Trigger does so much damage, and you see the follow-through. Jiaotu with the double now, and Hana just cut off from the rest of the team as Deep Cross in shambles lose out on that fight.
It was a bit of a dicey start right there. We saw the hook onto the wall from Enhao, and I thought, ooh, that looks like a free support. But Lakune comes in and saves the situation. He gets the knockback that takes Woody into the team. Woody was devouring someone at that point, so it essentially takes the fight from a 5v5, a pitch battle fight where a Jewish team have to fight over this ramp, until a situation where two of the side of Deep Cross are now deep within the enemy formation with absolutely no hope. So we'll watch this again. Kind of a scuffed start from Enhao. We'll watch this from Lakune. Isolates the front line in Woody and Hana. Those two can't protect the back line. And then Bang2 just flies in to finish off the kill here on Criscata. You know, Criscata's still looking for that 3 crit item spike. He's not going to get there anytime soon. Just completely falls down, and wow, Jewish team able to just go in with confidence and decisiveness.
Yeah, 17 minutes on the clock. They've got a very healthy advantage. 5,000 gold. The Dragon stack is going. It is going to be a Cloud Rift, and they will go in for a little bit more damage. Jiaotu pokes in, pokes out, does take a little bit more than he was able to give, but look at the Summoner spells. Cooldowns just not there, really, for Deep Cross, and even really for Duish, but that does favor this team right now. As they start off, they're going to get the stun onto Enhao. He's trying to hold the front line. There's going to be the Seraphine ultimate into the back. Jiaotu distracting again. They get a little bit out of Leaky. Nesty does take the support down, but they will immediately follow back onto Hana. My goodness, they're just trying to keep him in this one. It's 1-for-1 traded so far. Dragon's going to reset, but Duish are not done just yet. Hanging on to that Inferno Trigger if they want it from Bang2. And getting that Honey Fruit to heal up here. Deep Cross, they are not going to go quietly into the night, but these fights are way too close for comfort.
We have the Drake reset, so they're going in again. Lakune,
there's the Gnar, they get it, not into the wall, but they got the damage. Leaky's out of this one. They take Criscata away, and that's going to be the ultimate from Bang2. They don't need the Dragon just yet, Clement. They can just move for the fights.
DCG just don't have the damage to shut down Bang2, and Bang2's got that quick finger reaction to deny the Encore ultimate from Nesty. Beautiful move right there. He just completely cancels the ultimate effect onto the back line, and Jewish team are able to move forward from that point. So I really feel like DCG, they're kind of losing their composure at this point. I don't really see the secondary engage being that possible for them, and Lakune just able to get a good smash down onto the bot lane. Once again, Criscata doesn't have a front line at this point to protect him. The front line cannot survive the damage, and they don't have anyone to shut down Bang2, who now is 4-1-3. 3,000 damage in that team fight alone.
Yeah, and not only that, Jiaotu's been able to stack the kills. He stayed safe enough because obviously not going to be threatened by a Seraphine lane. And he's got himself a Medjai's with 14 stacks. Like, Jiaotu's feeling himself, and how often do we get to say that?
Yeah, I would never have imagined Deep Cross Gaming's 6-game win streak to possibly be ending on the hands of Jewish team. I was looking forward on the day, but last day of round robin always brings you some surprises here. Where you can see Jewish team now with the full run of the map, and they could have a potential for a Cloud Soul early on in the game. You know, it's a 23-minute Cloud Soul. That's absolutely massive with just the movement speed and the amount of advantages that Jewish team have right now.
Deep Cross are just going to have to huddle up and hope against hope that they can find a miracle fight. And they do have the coordination to do it, but man, what a ridiculous game that Duish have brought to bear. Like, forget everything you know about this team, because they found a strategy. They played it incredibly well. I want to give huge ups to WSL because he did what he needed in this game early on, and everybody else just survived long enough to make the plays, to rotate well, to be relevant. And this is some really coordinated gameplay. They've clearly been working on it.
Oh, for sure. I feel like the most important thing for WSL in the early game is
find a miss. Woody does flash away for the Gnar ultimate. Not too bad, yeah. Let's talk about that early game.
Oh, WSL, I feel like focusing top lane was definitely the right idea here. If you look at the rest of the members from DCG, their bottom side 4-man cannot take a fight. There's no tank right there. They have a lot of squishies that need time to scale up. You have a tier build coming in from Nesty. So the bottom side 4-man cannot stand up to any of the Drake fights. They can't take skirmishes. So if you just take down Leaky, the main frontline tank and the main initiation, then DCG just don't have any agency on the map. Jewish team, I feel like, did the right strategy here. Just shut down Leaky, make sure there is no initiation, and you just get to run across DCG with no opposition.
Yeah, I think Deep Cross's draft definitely didn't do them any favors towards the end there with the swap up onto the Wukong instead of something maybe a little bit more on the tanky side we would like to see from Leaky. But Jewish team take full advantage. Really good play early on. WSL the focus there. I think Xiaotu had a quiet start. We were wondering when he was going to get involved, and then all hell broke loose, and Bang 2 on this Samira has just looked so good. He just holds the Inferno trigger for when it's cleanup duty and just gets into the back line, and it's bullet hell. You gotta love it.
And right now there's only one source of healing reduction here, and that's the Ignite from Woody. That's really not enough to keep this going. We need some sort of a Kenpunk chainsaw coming out from, I think most likely from Wukong here, to kind of cut down the healing, or else Bang 2 is just, you can't deal with him. And on the flip side, I don't think DCG have a lot of catch potential. Their composition, maybe Wukong can surprise someone, but he doesn't really have the instant burst to kill anyone on Jewish team right now, so it's a very awkward position. They have to take team fights, but nobody can actually kill Bang 2.
It is a really slippery comp on Duish, right? Like, you think about it, like, LeBlanc obviously is one of those champions that, especially in the durability meta, you got to be careful about because she doesn't get fed, she doesn't really do enough, but she's also hard to kill. The Samira's pretty well protected. WSL has a speed boost for himself. Lakunai and Mininar can get away. Like, I feel like if anything, they just sacrifice Enhao, and that's like the loss being cut. It's actually a really good strategy.
Yeah, the only way I see DCG winning in the next couple of team fights is if they somehow just catch out Bang 2 first. Like, that has to be the win condition. It's definitely very difficult to do. Maybe they need to wait for the grab him or some sort of a flank coming in from Leaky. And it's most likely going to involve some sort of a lane give up as well. They have to just shrug off one of these lanes, admit that they can't hold all terrain right now on their side of the map, and just try to go for a group up and a surprise on Jewish. I will say...
Free soul.
Oh, yeah, there's not even a contest here.
Wow. That's how you know things have gone bad, if you just give that up without contesting.
This does feel a lot like the Belveth game we saw earlier from DCG.
Oh boy. Yeah, but that one won.
True, so I'm just mentioning
Belveth
DCG,
so far.
They do have some comeback potential.
That's true. That's very true. Like especially, the way things have been played on 12.12, right? Like, games can just come down to a 30-minute fight and it's over. But this is a big lead for Duish team, and they've got the soul, they've got the map control, and I mean the X factor is they're just playing well. They're playing coordinated. We don't usually see this. In fact, I don't think we ever see this.
No,
Who are these guys?
I don't know what happened to Jewish team. I would love to get an interview if we have that, or some sort of an insight into Jewish team, but this doesn't look like the Jewish team I know so far.
Ooh, absolutely not. This is whatever they've been working on. It's certainly been working. And even as recent as yesterday, I think it looked quite different. Xiaotu jumps in, does get insta-charmed and popped.
Goodbye.
Oh boy, now that's going to be the turn for Deep Cross. They find themselves with a number advantage. Xiaotu went a little too deep in enemy territory off the back of WSL's face check. Kunai does have a Mega Gnar soon, but DCG have the numbers advantage, and objective bounties are here. They're going to look for an opener. WSL trying to flank around the side. They will find one yard. Friscata swallowed up by Woody. Clutch save from the support. And that will be the end of that push.
Oh, Woody not even having to use his flash just to save that one. Kind of a weird move by Xiaotu. They had such good positioning around Baron. I don't feel like Xiaotu needed to go in there. He definitely was caught off guard by Nested, who just promptly drops the Encore on the entire side of the left mid lane right there. Catches him out with the hard crowd control. They just bop him. So, DWT team actually wastes a couple of minutes here. And I still want to mention, when it comes to the very late game, I still like DCG's composition a little bit better. There's a lot of melee elements on DWT team, and you don't really want to run into an Aphelios. That's always kind of a scary proposition. He has tons of protection. He's running basically with 2 supports, and you have that hard crowd control in the front line with recall. So if I'm DWT team, I'm still looking to end this one early, and I want to point out the gold lead isn't that big. Sure, there's a Dragon Soul, but it's still a 4K game.
And it's now going to be the Baron start. Xiaotu actually trying to bait in mid. I think they know something's up. Now they do for sure as they pop the blue trinket. This one's not going down as fast as DWT team would have liked. It's a deep cross. They're going to try to muscle in. Will this come down to the 50-50 smite? The Baron flip. Hana looking for an opener. Enho does not find what he was looking for. And oh my goodness, they negate the SD ultimate with Samira and instantly bop them into the wall. And an Inferno trigger. This is going to be massive. WSL claims the first kill of that fight as they take Leaky out of it. Woody soon to fall. Could have been worse for Deep Cross in terms of numbers lost, but that was a massive fight for DWT.
Lacune, how does he keep on getting these 3-mans over and over again? Enho, please do not die here. Don't give this one up.
They're not done yet. Oh, Xiaotu! Oh no! He gets bopped by Friscata on the back. He really greeted for that one.
Yeah, went in too deep there. Friscata didn't even have to use the exhaust to survive that. So, ooh, big loss here. And Xiaotu officially has sold his Medjais. 0 stacks right now.
That's the shame refund you go for. Like, all right, can I get this? Can I sell this back at a discount? It's not good for me anymore. Sorry, I broke it.
Ooh, DWT team. Well. I feel like they're throwing away a lot of these leads. That was such a good team fight coming in from Lacune. They definitely could have just turned around for the Baron right there.
Look at the Blade Whirl here. He completely stops the Seraphine ultimate. Oh my word.
Absolutely great stuff. And then Lacune with the flash, and he gets the 3-man in the back again. To be fair, D-Cross do keep Friscata out of this, but they still lose their entire front line in the meantime. I felt like this was a pretty good signal to just go for the Baron there. You know, Hana was super low HP. Friscata still had his sums up, but he was pretty much the only one. It would be an easy turnaround, and they did try to contest. DWT team definitely overstepping a little bit.
I think Xiaotu needs to rein it in. He's been feeling really good about himself, and he's made a couple of cheeky hints. What I'll say as the Moonlight Vigil does come down, retreat past, and there's Hana. Got a Heartbreak. That's a pretty big cooldown burned. And now the turn is for the Baron. That's the good control. You don't need to kill because you know they're not going to be able to have the fight turn.
Yeah, I think this is exactly how you want to play it. You know, you burn away so many abilities here. Nesty also doesn't have the flash for this fight, so he could be another target. Let's look at where Xiaotu has been. I think that's all has been the difference maker in these couple of fights. The angle which he decides to go with.
Teleport started here for Leaky, the Baron. I think this is enough to spook DWT team. They get the cooldown. WSL is going to be off that with half his hit points. That's the thing about this DWT comp. They're not the fastest Baron takers.
Yeah, they don't really have any of that % HP damage on their composition, and this is always the scariest part in the game. I feel like DCG, with that bounty very close to 3 items, you talked about Aphelios as a hyper carry, and now they have a chance to flip everything just at this Elder. It's coming up in 20 seconds. DCG are going to stay around to take control of the area.
You can see him looking for death brushes. Friscata will hold the line here as well. Xiaotu looking for an isolated target, not going to be able to find it. Already taken down, chunked. That's the retreat. They don't have Lacune with him. He has teleport if needed, but he's not with the team just yet. There we go. Expends it. Full vision, though, I believe, or just passed as it's in the lane. The Narbar's up.
This is not good terrain for DWT. It's way too open. They would like to play somewhere where Gnar can get an easier wall bash here.
He's got it on red now. I think Deep Cross have managed to wait this out. It's all about the patience. They need to set up a death brush. He looks for the big Gnar, doesn't find it. Leaky's there, but it's not him. It's going to be the flash away. They turn, try to cut off on a couple different angles. That's going to be a massive ultimate out of Nesty as he finds the Encore. Enhao absorbing so much damage, finally taken out of this by Hana, who turns into him, looking for a knockup, but Jiaotu takes him out of the fight. It now turns into a 4v4, and Duish team of the inside track, but Jiaotu low. Here's the turn, Cruscata. Starting to dish the damage, starting to hurt, but there's no smite, and there is no Wukong, as it's a 1-for-1 trade, but Duish team are the team that backs away.
Yeah, Duish team have lost all potential to do a re-engage here. They are losing the Mega Gnar bar. I'm not sure about this one. This one's really risky, and DCG are incredibly healthy. Even though they are down one member here, they can definitely take this 3v4.
Trying to build that Gnar bar up. Here's Lacuna. It's going to be big. He does not have the ultimate, though, and the team should know that. He's just going to throw out the boulder. This will be the smite down. They can't really contest it. There we go. It gets secured by Bang 2. Ooh, that felt close for comfort.
Yeah, incredibly close one right there. DCG, they were also lacking their ultimates. It was definitely a hairy situation, but I think, you know, I got a little bit too nervous. Duish team definitely made the right call, just going back with the extra smite and the extra personnel there to take down the Elder.
Yeah, so now the attention shifts over to the Baron. All the objectives, all the neutrals this game have gone the way of Duish team, but Deep Cross are going to be hoping to win it on this next. Gold lead starting to swing a little bit back into the favor, but that's the 3-item of Aphelios. It's in. Will it be enough to turn the tides of battle? Deep Cross have found a few weak points in the armor of Duish team.
And so far, I love Bang 2's positioning in these fights. In the last one, he was able to sidestep the Encore once again, and he's just hanging out on the side. For the other members, Jiaotu...
Talk about positioning. Yeah, that one's a bit of an oopsie. He's forced to burn flash and then distort away. Mega Gnar comes up. This is going to be the start, though. They were actually just fainting this entire time, Clement. The Baron, they needed to seed the ground for this, and they will be able to secure it. Deep Cross knows they can't contest.
Yeah, I feel like, to be honest, DCG weren't going to hard contest that one anyway, just because of the Elder Dragon. And, you know, Jiaotu has burned both the Zhonya's and the Flash, so this could be something that DCG are very reminiscent of. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the way Jiaotu has been approaching a lot of these angles. I feel like he's just coming in from absolutely just, you know, in the middle of the lane, like where everyone can see him from.
He's borderline running it down, and as long as he stays alive, I think he's a threat. The problem is he does keep getting himself caught, and now he doesn't have the Zhonya's up, but the siege is here. Look at how much damage they dish to these turrets, and they will be able to open up the first. It's Leaky that actually was trying for a split push effort, but he's going to be losing out compared to Duish team. That's first inhib fired down.
Taking a look at the Elder Dragon there, it's about to run down, about a sixth of it still there.
Trying to push for Nexus turrets. Gnar bar's up for Lacuna. This might come down to a 5v5 at base. Look at the damage they do, and looking for the Gnar. They managed to find it against the Nexus. Jiaotu opens up. Leaky's taken out. They maybe charm Bang 2, but he stays alive long enough for the Nexus to be laid bare. And Duish team are winless no longer.
Congratulations to Duish team. What an amazing game to break open the win streak coming in from DCG. 6 games starting from from week 1, and Lacune gets the biggest game of his young career. All those Mega Gnar smashes were right on point.
What a photo finish, because it still felt like, despite the lead, the scaling, of course, being on the side of Deep Cross meant that the fight could be turned, but when it came down to the clutch factor, Lacune had the multi-man Gnar, the setup was there, and there was nothing Deep Cross could do to stop it. You can't give up all the objectives and still expect to win the game on even footing.
Yeah, and DCG knew that was coming. That was the last wave where they still had the Elder Dragon, and somehow Lacune still is able to catch them by surprise, get the 3-man smashdown right here. What a great game for Duish team. I've got to say, I always felt like this team had a flair for finding themselves in really good positions in the draft phase, but they've never been able to execute. This is the best game that they've had from WSL. I feel like his jungle attention was rewarded in the right places, and they actually had great teamfight performances. We finally got an answer. What would Duish team look like if they actually get to go into the mid game with an even footing?
Well, we're about to see, Clement, because here it is. as they get the final push again, we watch the replay, and man, what a beautiful fight. Lacune, he burns the flash fork, but oh so worth. Bang 2 goes in, and so does Xiao 2. Smelling blood in the water. This is a team that still, they definitely have some things to work on. I mean, even in this game in particular, we saw Xiao 2 getting a little bit too hyped, getting a little bit too aggressive, and getting himself caught. But great positioning from the Samira, from Bang 2. Enhao did exactly what he needed to do to set things up. And Lacune, this new top laner, is definitely finding a footing in this game. But as you said, WSL, I mean, he was the glue that stuck everything together in this early game. And what a turnaround, even from yesterday. The coordination was just on the next level.
Yeah, Duo's team, you know, they stick to their guns. They've always played a very similar draft, which I actually think helps teams a lot because you understand how to grow within the same system. All your experience is leading you towards the same game plan. And to break it down a little bit, their game plan has always been, okay, we're going to draft superior mid jungle, we're going to move bot lane, and try to snowball there. That's typically always been their game plan in terms of drafting strong champions and drafting skirmish composition for the bottom side. This time, however, the wrinkle that they added was also just ganking and camping top lane earlier on, making sure that you know, there was going to be no help from the top side coming in here. So great stuff from Duo's team. Love to see these young teams come in with a lot of progression.
Yeah, and the coordination, not just in the team fights, but in the setups. We talked about the ganks. I think also just knowing what was happening across the map. Sometimes there have been struggles to respond to even basic challenges. Vertical jungling wasn't a problem this time around. WSL was able to do it. They coordinated well. The bot lane didn't get shoved in. And it does feel like they maybe bamboozled Deep Cross in the draft a little bit into picking a weak mid lane and a scaling bot lane, lulling them into a false sense of security. I know when we saw the LeBlanc, we saw the Samira, it was like, oh, they're putting a lot of eggs in that early game basket, but man, did they deliver. And despite Xiao 2 getting caught a few times, a few oopsies, he has the most damage in the game by a decent margin. Well played, finding it where it counted, and also, man, Lacune, those Gnar plays are going to live rent-free in Deep Cross's heads.
Honestly, Deep Cross Gaming could have held on if they just didn't give over those, I believe it was something like 7 kills in the 2 Herald plays. Those kills were really what doomed them because it gave way too much gold over, especially to Bang 2. Bang 2 was unkillable throughout the entirety of the mid-game. There's no healing reduction. There's 1 Ignite on the team, so you just can't deal with the Samira. She also blocks out the ultimate coming in from the Seraphine, so great idea. It's probably pre-planned from the draft just to go in with this champion to kind of block out the ultimate. Really good stuff. I also want to give kudos to Enhao on the last dredge line right there. Finds Hana, scrapes by the tower with the hook, and just starts the game finishing engage right there. Just a beautiful game from Duo's team. They stick to their guns. They go the entire split with pretty much the same strategy, and it finally pays off in the last game of round robin.
Oh, heck yes. That was great for Duo's team, and maybe this is the turning point. We were talking about Sem9 on the rebound. However, we don't have any more winless teams in the PCS. This is a new split, Clement. Duo's team showing us the recipe for success, and not against just like, you know, a 6th, 7th place team. They beat Deep Cross Gaming, for crying out loud. And here's how they did it. Lacune in the top lane, just an absolute beast on this Gnar. Got some help early on, but played so well to find those ultimates, playing as best he could around the Gnar bar, and my goodness, there's a reason this league really likes this champion, and he picked it blind. Oh boy, did it work out.
I just want to say it seems like MFT top laners really don't miss. Lacune, of course, coming from the MFT squadron as well. And actually, Enhao and Bang 2 did come from the B team of MFT. So we are seeing the move coming in from Collegiate, just taking over the PCS, starting to grow here. It's great stuff from this youngster. I will be honest, I was a little bit down on him throughout most of the split because his laning stats weren't all that good. It did seem like just 1v1. He didn't have the best laning performances, and you could say that even this game he was solo killed by his opponent. But boy, oh boy, do we finally get to see what he can do in team fights.
Yeah, I love to see him starting to step up in this one. Obviously, such a tough field up in that top side. The PCS absolutely stacked for talent, but Lacune making a name for himself. And oh, wow, what a surprising game 1, done and dusted. But, you know, we got some other good stuff on the horizon. We got 4 more games to go in this first round robin. And right on the other side of this break, we got PSG Talon, taking on Frank Esports. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back.